billionaires Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg have challenged each other to a fight, mixed martial arts style. Dana White, the president of UFC, has already come in. He's already producing Musk versus Zuck shirts and selling merch, and really excited about trying to get these guys into the octagon. And it is quite a news story and quite a spectacle. Will it ever actually happen? We don't know. But both men have been posting pictures on their respective social media platforms that they own because they're billionaires. And they've been training with like GSP and Israel Adesanya, like the greatest mixed martial artists in the world. It would be quite the spectacle. But the question is, why? Why would they do this? Why would they risk injury? One of them will lose. So why would they risk public humiliation? And what is this accomplishing? There's been kind of this ongoing beef, and Elon Musk is this very zany character. You know, you never really know exactly what he's up to. But they've been talking trash online. Of course, Elon Musk bought Twitter, and so now he's in the social media space. And just last week, Zuckerberg put out Threads, which is under the parent company Meta that has Facebook, Instagram, all of these different social media, WhatsApp. And Threads is supposed to be the Twitter killer. It's a clone of Twitter. It operates in almost the same way. They integrated it with Instagram to where they jumped up to 100 million users basically overnight. And Elon Musk just said in kind of his typical joking way, well, we should just have a cage match, to which on his social media site, Zuckerberg responded with, drop your location. Now, that's a famous line from Habib. I'm really good at names. From Habib, who is like, you know, probably the greatest or one of the greatest pound for pound fighters in the UFC ever. And that just kind of built this momentum to where apparently they're at least giving the illusion that they're going to get in the octagon together. Now, could this be a brilliant marketing strategy that has everyone, including the number one fastest growing podcast named the Clayton Podcast, talking about him? It just might be. But if they really did do this, if they actually got in the cage together, it's either going to be like, wow, or it's going to be like, and if I were to guess, I would think it would actually be more like, because I just don't know. These guys aren't actual fighters. Like, this might just be the worst slap fight and everybody just gets embarrassed. But how exactly did we get to this point? And is there any precedent for this? If you've never studied the beginning of Southwest Airlines and you're interested in leadership or business organization and management, I would definitely encourage you to do that. A lot of books have been written about this. Herb Kelleher, who is the CEO, the guy who started this, who wanted to have like the Greyhound bus for the sky, the democratization of airplanes, letting normal people have an opportunity to fly. This guy is incredible. And one of the things that happened is he got into a copyright dispute over the tagline, just plain, Plane, smart, just plain smart. Like, to fly Southwest Airlines, that's just plain smart. And it's a terrible, cheesy pun. And it, you know, is some of their branding. But there was another airline that also used that exact same tagline, and they took each other to court. They were going to spend millions of dollars and months, if not years, trying to decide who actually owned that copyright. And instead, they challenged each other to an arm wrestling match. And this is something that actually happened. Sold out. There was like 4,000 people in this giant auditorium. They were in the middle of a boxing ring. It was this huge publicity moment for them. Here's a little bit of that clip.
Both of you pull.
That's Kelleher smoking a cigarette while arm wrestling. If you're not watching on YouTube, you should be. But these are just two old, out-of-shape white guys. 4,000 people watching them arm wrestle. Anyway, this goes on for quite some time, but this is some level of precedent. However, what this has that the Musk situation does not have is there was something obvious on the line. They had an actual dispute. Now, Musk has allegedly sued Threads, the Meta company, and so maybe they could iron something out. But what this seems to be about is just kind of ego. It just seems to be about publicity. There's even more precedent for this. If you read like the 18th century and before, society is somewhat modernized. I mean, this is when the Declaration of Independence was written. There were great thinkers, very modern men of that time. A few years ago, I read about many of the founding fathers, read their biographies, and I was just shocked when I read Alexander Hamilton's. And of course, this has been portrayed now in the world famous play, Hamilton, that he ends up dying in a duel with the sitting vice president of the United States of America, Aaron Burr. In the 18th century, a pretty civilized society, when you were offended by somebody, like Musk and Zuckerberg have been talking trash back and forth, when you took offense at something, and I'm talking about like somebody called you a rascal, a rapscallion, someone just wrote that down. And so what you would do instead of tweeting about it or the extremes of arm wrestling or, mixed martial arts, what you would do is you would go get your pistols and then you would walk 10 paces and then you would shoot each other to death. That's crazy. That is so wild. Alexander Hamilton, one of the founding fathers, one of the key political figures, the person who set up the entire financial system of the United States, was shot and killed in a duel by the vice president. Jefferson was president. Aaron Burr was vice president of the United States. Shot and killed Alexander Hamilton. That is so wild. Now, we don't do duels anymore. And what we say is we have civilized past that point. And, maybe we have civilized ourselves past some of that stuff. However, there's also a chance that we have like civilized ourselves past the point of being civilized. We no longer have almost any threat of physical harm against us. And to be completely honest, while that is like a very positive thing for society, we're now seeing almost the overcorrection of that. People live with the understanding nothing bad's going to happen to them. We can say anything we want about anyone we want in any tone that we want, and just nothing's going to happen. This is why TikTokers know that they can just straight up go and harass people on public transportation, say the most horrendous things possible to them, pull these like things they call pranks, but are actually not pranks at all. And they're just so confident there's going to be no physical force used against them. At least the threat of somebody smacking you in the mouth kept a lot of bad behaviors in line for a really, really long time in our society. And if you spend any time on social media and you get deep into some of the comments on almost any post, what you will find is the most horrendous possible conversations and dialogue that you can ever find, because there is no threat of any kind of physical force. So yes, we don't want to live in a world where people settle things by getting pistols and walking 10 paces and then shooting each other. That's not what you want. At the same time, there is something to the understanding that there are consequences, real world consequences to your actions. And we've kind of moved past that as well. So here's what I don't like about the Musk and Zuckerberg fight is there doesn't really seem to be any actual organizing point to it other than their egos. Philippians 2 says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility, consider others as more important than yourselves. Proverbs 13 says, by pride comes nothing but strife. And this does seem to be largely rooted in pride. Now, both men have said they'll figure out some kind of charity component to this. But one of my issues with that is you guys are billionaires. You shouldn't need a UFC fight as an excuse to figure out where you want to give some money. Just give the money that you want to give and maybe don't get and have a slap fight with each other. I hope that if this actually gets organized, there's a real purpose to it. I love what Herb Kelleher did, getting in a ring, making it a big deal. Instead of having the nightly news covering the lawsuit between two airlines, just get in a friendly way, arm wrestle it out. I am a fan of MMA. And one of the things that I like about it is, number one, the world's most ancient sport. And The other thing is, for most of the time with most of the fighters, at the end of the fight, you realize there's a great respect and admiration for each other. And even many times, guys who do not have much respect for each other before they get in the octagon, after they have sweat together and bled together and tried to beat the crap out of each other, at the end of it, they bond in this mutual respect. And so that could be a good outcome. And it's not like Zuck and Musk are going to go and shoot each other. So we can be thankful for that. And maybe they will turn this into a good thing, and maybe they'll turn it into a positive thing. Right now, it feels like a prideful thing. It feels like we live in a world where you get to say anything you want to anybody you want. These guys have enough money to organize a huge event that will promote themselves and promote their things. And I'm just not sure exactly what that is signaling to the kids who are paying attention, what it's signaling to people who are paying attention. By pride comes nothing but strife. And there's a good chance that if they go through with this, both of them really will end up losing. They'll end up losing respect. They could end up losing stock price. They could end up getting seriously injured. MMA is the real deal. I mean, there's always the chance of real damage to your body. And so odds are they won't go through with this, but it's an interesting cultural touch point nonetheless.